Good evening. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 City Council Roundtable Meeting. Thank you for joining us. Deputy City Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Murphy. Here. Councilmember Watton.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Washington.
Here.
Councilmember Cotton. Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the roundtable agenda?
So moved. Second.
Sorry about that, guys. Moved by Councilmember.
Holiday.
You guys have the wrong names on top of each other.
Is whatever. Are you
Moved by Councilmember Holloway, seconded by Councilmember Johnson,
just set up.
to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The roundtable agenda is approved. We'll now go into executive session. Executive session is pursuant to RCW 42.30.110(1) to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters related to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. We will ask City Attorney Dina Burke, council members, and myself to join the executive session in the Mount Si Conference Room. Anticipated end time of the executive session is 6:45. Correction, the anticipated end time is 6:30. Move up to the executive session.
Everyone else.
The executive session is being extended for 15 minutes till 6:45. The council will return at 6:45. All right, the roundtable meeting of the city council is back in session at 6:45. There be no further business before the roundtable portion of this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the roundtable meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Washington, seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 I don't have a vote. Those opposed say nay. The motion carries. We're adjourned until 7 o'clock when our regular meeting will begin. Good evening and welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mayor Mayhew. Deputy City Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Murphy. Here. Councilmember Watton.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Washington.
Here.
Councilmember Cotton.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Johnson, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm gonna start charging 25 cents.
Council, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Washington, approved by Councilmember Johnson. Is there any discussion of the agenda?
Oh.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. Move to add AB 26-010 city clerk appointment to the agenda under appointments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sorry, that was moved by Councilmember Johnson, seconded by Councilmember Washington. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Is there any further discussion of the agenda as amended? Not those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
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 Those say nay, those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the agenda as amended is approved. So just figuring out where the order was. So tonight I'm appointing a new city clerk, Kim Egg-Falvey. You've all been made aware of that and her qualifications. Is there a motion to confirm the appointment of Kim Egg-Falvey as the city clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, seconded by Councilmember Washington. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The appointment is confirmed. Next is Mayor Pro Tem comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and members of our community. It is truly inspiring to see this room filled tonight. Your presence and your willingness to show up, to speak up, to take part is the heartbeat of our democracy. Participation is not just a feature of the democratic process. It is the foundation on which it stands. Tonight, the council is here to listen. We are here to listen to your concerns, your hopes, and your perspectives. No action is anticipated this evening on the unincorporated King County Jupiter Power Battery Energy Storage System, yet your voices tonight are crucial in shaping the work ahead. Governing, when it is done right, is not about rushing to the quickest answer. It is about taking the time to understand the full picture, to weigh the consequences, and to move with intention. It is about marching steadily toward the best decision rather than sprinting toward a quick and potentially problematic decision. We need time to reflect on your comments, to study this complex issue carefully, and to work diligently together toward the next steps. There is work ahead that will involve administration and staff and legal counsel. Because in the end, it is far better to do something with understanding and get it right than to do it quickly and potentially wrong. As council moves forward, let us remember that democracy is not something that happens to us. It is something we build together. Your voices and perspective will help guide the council, and your engagement strengthens us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for caring to take part in your community.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, for those comments. At this time, we'll provide time for public comment for items not on the agenda. So for just a moment, procedurally, how we do things at City Council. First off, we've received many emails. All of those are distributed to City Council members. They look at all of them, as do I. Additionally, 26 written comments for this evening's agenda were received by the 3 o'clock deadline. All of those have been shared with the council. So procedurally, the way our agenda works, to allow for all of you to make comments now at the beginning of the meeting, the topic of Jupiter BESS can't be on the agenda right now. Otherwise, we'd have to push you till later in the evening. So for that reason, you don't see that item on the agenda. I would say it is very likely that that might be added to the agenda after the comment period, but procedurally, that's why that happens that way. We do have more people than fit in the room. We have a fire code that restricts how many we can have in here. So there are others that would like to make public comment tonight. So please consider, if you make comment and you've you've completed making your comments, consider rotating out of the room. Try to do that through the back side of the room so that current speakers can continue to allow others to come in and have their chance to make comment.
There you go.
Second.
The second.
Somebody liked the idea.
How this then works out is that we will go back to the recording and take every comment we hear tonight. Every comment will then be extracted into a document that we have that tells us every comment, every request that was made, every question that was asked. We will then document those concerns. We'll go through a due diligence process, fact finding. We have committee meetings where we then explore that. We ask staff to go get the information that we need in order to move through those things. Then in committee meetings of this council, we then go through those different things and try to work towards what we will do with those requests and with that information. With that, I've got a few formal rules that govern our time for public comment. So here are the ground rules. First, comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Please come forward to the podium and state your name and city of residence for the record. Please direct your comments to the council as a whole and not to individual members. Council members, staff, and I will listen to your comments and we will consider your input, but we will not respond during this meeting. Per Council Rule 2.5.2, any person making disruptive, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be asked to leave and barred from further audience for the council for that meeting. This is a business meeting. Please refrain from applause, cheers, or boisterous comments. I shall ask any person who violates the rules of this meeting or is disruptive and prevents us from carrying on the business of the meeting to leave. With that, procedurally then, instead of trying to have a list and manage a list of this many people, what I'm going to ask is for your help in how we conduct ourselves tonight. Maybe what we could do is have the front row, folks from the front row who want to make comments on this side of the room, go first and maybe work your way back through. And then we'll go through this side of the room. So that side of the room could swap out during the time that this side is doing that. So with that, and in terms of how you get your turn, if you would just go ahead and approach the podium, you can kind of stand behind each other and that we will kind of move through this. Everyone gets a chance to talk through it. So with that, would anyone like to speak to any concern that is not on the agenda tonight? Please approach the podium. And again, please state your name, city of residence, and then you'll have 3 minutes, which will be measured for you by some lights on the podium. You'll get a yellow light when you're almost out of time and a red light when your time is done.
Hi, my name is Chris Berglund. I live in Snoqualmie on the Ridge. My wife, Valerie Berglund, started a petition against the BES, which I believe has about 1,700 signatures so far. The BES in and of itself isn't a bad technology. It is clean, it's quiet. The issue then is what happens when they go wrong. The number one issue is fire and an off-gassing of fairly lethal gases as a result of that. The second risk then is pollution of our groundwater as a result of the firefighting effort to put the fire out. And the proximity then to schools, parks, houses really put us at risk in terms of where do we go if there's a toxic gas cloud in this community? We have no way of getting out. We'd have no way to get our kids out of the school. And so it really creates an issue where there is risk that we will be taking on if this facility is put here. The benefit of a BES is that it typically helps stabilize power during peak times. It can reduce rates. It does not offer us any greater value than anybody else. In other words, you can put these anywhere in the county and we will still see the same benefit as if it was in the site that it's at now. So what we're being asked to do is take on significant risk to our water supply, the health of the community, for really no benefit. So what I would ask, and I understand that this is an unincorporated King County, so it's not necessarily under the purview of you as the council. But what I would ask is, one, that the council pass a resolution against this facility, either future permits or anything, one. Two, I would ask that you take a look at ordinances that you can put into place that require a certain distance from a facility like this. While it won't necessarily affect that area, it definitely puts us in a position where we can litigate, where we can deny services or make it as difficult as possible for them to put something there. Further, I'd like the council to evaluate the efficacy of annexing that property and bringing it under our purview, if at all possible. And finally, I'd be very curious to hear what our fire department has to say about this, considering they're not necessarily the first responders, but they're right down the street. What do they think? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berglund. Next speaker.
Hello, Council. My name's Sandy Graham. I've been a resident of Snoqualmie for 20 years and served as Snoqualmie Shoreline Sharing Board for 2010 and several years after. I'm here to voice my opinion to oppose the building of the Jupiter Battery Storage Facility for several reasons. My top concern is the environmental risk to Snoqualmie drinking water. Some sources of Snoqualmie's water supply is in groundwater, and there should be zero added risk to the groundwater supply. And from the proposed battery storage facility or any other similar industry build. There are also two water storage reservoirs at Fitch Park. An unbiased environmental impact study must be thoroughly conducted before consideration of this type of build. Also, the proposed build location is at an elevated location to other possible downstream water supply for other cities, such as Carnation Falls City and maybe even Seattle. The Jupiter Battery Storage Facility sounds like something that should be built in an industrial area that is better equipped with emergency and hazard response nearby, not in a residential area. There should be a call to action to deny any permitting and build of the Jupiter Battery Storage Facility and any similar industry builds in the Snoqualmie area, whether the location is considered unincorporated King County or not. There's another call to action for all those concerned about this to voice their opinion to the congressperson representing the Snoqualmie area. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Mark Gerhart. We live in unincorporated King County, but our address is in Snoqualmie. I'm here tonight as a neighbor and a commercial real estate developer to highlight the structural problems behind the Juniper BESS proposal. We're talking about Juniper because of a profound shortcoming of the Snoqualmie City of Snoqualmie and King County comprehensive planning effort and the Washington state law that was intended to prevent those shortcomings. Our family spent 9 years dealing with King County to build one of the 364 homes in the 2 square mile rural island between the city of Snoqualmie and I-90. Over the 20-year career in commercial real estate, I've developed and worked on a total of 3.9 million square feet of buildings, 43 individual buildings for companies like Microsoft, Boeing, and Amazon, including 2 buildings in the Snoqualmie Ridge Business Park. Based on my experience, there's a clear gap in long-range planning between the city of Snoqualmie and King County comprehensive plans for the area between the city of Snoqualmie and I-90. Here's the problem. In 1990, the Washington State Legislature adopted the Growth Management Act, law requiring fast-growing cities like Snoqualmie and counties like King County to plan for growth in a coordinated way. The legislature found, quote, uncoordinated, unplanned growth would threaten the environment, sustainable economic development, and the quality of life. Local jurisdictions must plan and regulate development so that no essential public facilities and services are adequate to serve and or avoid unsafe conditions, unquote. This is clearly not happening for the rural property between the city of Snoqualmie and I-90. Unmitigated high-intensity uses on rural property in question are not hypothetical. They exist today. They are planned, and we're having a conversation about one right now. An existing example, since the opening in 2008 of the Snoqualmie Casino, a 210 key hotel, 22,000 square feet of conference space, and a 6,500 square foot gas station were added without mitigation. a sovereign tribe. They're not subject to Washington state law, and we are currently living with the public safety and traffic impacts they create every day in our neighborhood. A planned example, the city of Snoqualmie's 2044 comprehensive plan update maintains traffic concurrency to accommodate future development capacity for the city, routing traffic through our rural residential neighborhood and over a piece of our private property. The 86 to 372nd Street extension will route 7,000 daily traffic trips generated by the city of Snoqualmie and the Snoqualmie Casino through our neighborhood, which generates 250 trips roughly today. The traffic modification is planned without annexing our property or neighborhood into the city of Snoqualmie or providing essential services like fire and police that we will absolutely need in order to maintain public safety in our neighborhood.
If
An
you could-
example
if you
under
could complete your
consideration,
comments, please.
tonight, this council is discussing the Juniper BESS project, a hazardous industrial non-conforming use in a low-density
Mr. Gerhart,
residential
if you could
neighborhood on
complete
rural
your
property.
comments, please.
If a predictable catastrophic fire occurred, the creek adjacent to our home
Mr.
and
Gerhart,
our
please complete your
water,
comments.
drinking water will be irreparably harmed.
There are a lot of people here
Each of
tonight.
these examples violate the Growth Management Act. Clearly, your staff and the city need to align the comprehensive plan with
Please
the law
complete your
and
comments.
reject developments like these.
Okay, folks, we have a lot of people who want to speak tonight, and the council very much wants to hear from everyone. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes apiece, please. Next speaker.
Hello, I'm Luke Marusiak, live in Snoqualmie, and I recommend that the council oppose the battery energy storage site by Jupiter Power for 3 primary reasons. 1 is weighted safety risk, 2 is location, and 3 is a mismatch between the purpose and the scale. First, by way of analogy, if our community here are 3 hikers and the best is Pikes Peak, and one says there's only a 10% chance of rain, let's go up there. The second person says, that's a good idea, let's go start hiking this thing. And the third person says, wait a minute, what happens if it rains? We get wet, right? And the second person says, well, no, actually, it's below freezing up there. It's going to be ice. We're likely to fall. We could get seriously injured or die. And suddenly that 10% risk is very huge. And that is my point here is, do we get wet or is it a more serious risk? We do not need to guess because on 3 p.m. on January 16, 2025, at a BESS in Moss Landing, California, there was a fire. And interestingly enough, at 3 p.m., it was the National Weather Service, a federal agency, who notified the California Science Support Coordinator, another federal agency, that, hey, there's a fire here, I need to do plume analysis. After that, the first responders came in there. So I'm not sure what happened there. But again, we don't need to guess what happened. Once they responded, 15,000 people were evacuated, roads were closed, schools were closed, and the ecological study says that 55,000 pounds of toxic waste came out, or 25 metric tons. Now, it's kind of interesting. They had people evacuated for 24 hours, they brought them back, and they're like, hey, we got these white dots all over the place. And they took core samples and says, deep, we don't see any contamination. But yet the non-state ecologists went in and said, there's contamination on the surface, there's contamination in the wetlands, there's contamination in the water, and we don't know the total health events. Moss Landing had sensors, alarms, thermal management, and fire suppression, everything that Jupiter said they're going to have. So it's taken 2 years to clean up. Second location, I've been in the Army and in semiconductors, you take hazardous stuff, you keep it away from people. You look at the power lines, you go less than 3 miles down across I-90, you see a distribution center over twice the size in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not sure why we're doing this next to the town. 3, purpose and scale. We need gigawatts of additional power generation, 130 megawatts that last 10 to 15 years. No, by the way, is unmonitored. I don't know how that makes sense for what King County or PSC needs in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Levon Cunningham, Snoqualmie. Hans Detweiler, Director of Development for Jupiter Power, told Como News last week, and I quote, "We look forward to being in the community for decades to come," end quote. Jupiter Power said they will be here for 15 to 20 years but they really don't know. The technology is too new. And the company was only founded in 2017, less than a decade ago. So Detweiler is projecting Jupiter will be here for 15 to 20 years, as stated in their proposal, but they really don't know. No current BESS facility in the entire country has been around for 15 years, much less 20 years. Now, Jupiter has said that they're going to contribute about $1 million to Snoqualmie in taxes every year. Now, I beg you, as council members, don't plan your budget on $1 million for the next 15 to 20 years.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Next speaker, please.
I'm Neil Thiebert. I live in Snoqualmie on the ridge, about a half mile from this site. We would like to know why and how this site was chosen. If it's to support the transition to clean energy, why wasn't it built adjacent to a wind farm or solar farm? Is it to support future wind and solar projects that someone is planning in our neighborhood? Are the benefits of this project worth the risk to public safety? The site is very close to and immediately upwind from hundreds of houses in a community that is 30% children. The adjacent property is a children's playground. Fisher Creek, a tributary of the Snoqualmie River, runs along the northern edge of the site. A fire at the site could release toxic compounds to affect people and the environment. Who will pay for the added police and fire training and for the response time if there is an emergency? Although this facility is to be located in King County, the risk is to the people of Snoqualmie. What are the evacuation plans for Cascade Elementary School? Douglas Avenue Southeast, which is the normal route for buses leaving the school, is the main road out of a 280-acre neighborhood of dense housing. Traffic on this street is bad in the best of conditions. Timber Ridge Elementary is also less than a mile from the site. What are the benefits to the residents who are put at risk? It won't reduce local power outages. Since this is not being built in the city of Snoqualmie, the city will presumably receive no tax revenue from it. The tax revenue would go to King County, and we have no guarantee it would be used to offset energy costs or provide other benefits to our residents. The project invests over $150 million in capital expenditures, which are mostly to be for manufacture of batteries and containers by companies in other states or countries. The proponents say it will create 150 local construction jobs, but this appears to be multiple concrete slabs with self-contained units placed on them and connected by conduit and cable. The jobs appear to be at the manufacturer's site. Risk is the probability of consequence and is the product of probability and consequence. For a battery energy storage system, the probability of an event may be low, but the consequences may be catastrophic. Why should the community accept this risk without a commensurate benefit?
Thank you, Mr. Siebert. Next speaker.
Good evening. I'm Sydney Savara, and I'm a long-term resident of Snoqualmie. And by the way, thank you for rearranging the council's meeting agenda to hear from Snoqualmie residents. And like you, I care deeply for the quality of life and safety of our community. And that's why I'm here to emphasize how totally inappropriate the proposed site is. It's a stone's throw from elementary school as well as a family park. It's in a treed area that is subject to strong windstorms. A small fire could burn out of control so quickly. And we have a wonderful, but a very small fire department that this is a unique kind of firefighting that would be called for. And I understand that you as the city council have limited control over such applications. But what the council can do is to pass a resolution prohibiting such facilities and work to pass an interim measure that places a moratorium on it, a moratorium until stricter resolutions or regulations can be considered through the legislative process, and limits established on how close battery storage facilities can be to homes and schools, and along with strengthened environmental protections. So thank you very much again for making this opportunity. I see that you take it very seriously, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sabara. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Anna Albert. I'm a high school student here in Snoqualmie. I've lived here my whole life, and I would like to speak against the BESS. The fire hazards and the toxic potential of the BESS is unignorable, especially for students and children who live here. I think that as someone who's lived here my whole life, I can confidently say that I'm aware that we live in a congested area. There's a lot of housing development here, and placing an energy facility with the potential for fire and toxic material near housing development is a bad idea. I think that there are places in Snoqualmie or outside of Snoqualmie where we do not have to keep energy manufacturing near us. So I hope that the council members can do something about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Albert. All right, next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Bellum, and I live on 356th Avenue Southeast. I believe I live on a home on 10 acres, right next door to where they're proposing to build this plant. If you look on the map, the only thing in between my home, where we've been for 32 years, before the first tree was ever cut down to build Snoqualmie Ridge, it was all woods. We have a creek on our property, quite a deep creek with a big bank. We call it D Creek. The only thing in between us and this power plant, or excuse me, this proposed site is the substation. So right next door to the substation, it's easy to see on the map. If things were being done properly, I'm quite familiar with the Growth Management Act and comprehensive plans and so on. We've been through this for 32 years that we've been here. If things were working properly, the city and the county would be working together long-term to plan, are we going to be integrated into the city? Is the so-called rural and city going to be integrated, or are we going to be separated in some meaningful way where this stuff doesn't affect us, where the lights and the noise, et cetera, doesn't impact us? But nobody's talking about that. I met with Jupiter Power. I thought that they should hear about the unique issues that the so-called rural people have. And I went to the meeting on Snoqualmie Ridge. I've researched this. I've researched the ordinance that was passed recently that I didn't know was changing what they could build to allow these plants in unincorporated areas. I didn't know about it. I'm on the county's mailing list everywhere. I write comments. We have about 35 to 40 families in our unincorporated area who access 356th Avenue. The city's water line is about 10-second walk, maybe 15. It's uphill from my driveway, but I don't have city water. Here's our unique issues. We're all on wells. We have creeks. We have gardens. I have a blueberry field and fruit trees. We have animals, fire. We are not in a fire district. The county allowed the property to be developed and homes to be built, and we have no fire protection. If we had city water and fire, you all could monitor possible harmful effects of a project like this, but you can't because we don't. So here's my ask. The letter I sent you all, can I just say what my ask is?
Include your comments, please. Yes.
I proposed to the county, I wrote to Sarah Perry and asked her to amend her ordinance to where you can't have these battery plants near schools, water, drinking water, our wells, reservoirs, schools, and parks.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Thank you very much.
Please support that. That's my ask of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bellum. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Christina. I live in the city of Snoqualmie. I just have some points that I want to make. They're just thought points for people. First of all, the eating up of the acreage. I have so many amazing wild animals that come into my backyard, and I don't want to see them go away. Secondly, the waste, the water seepage, all these protected wetlands. Why are we allowing any of this to happen? They're protected. Let's see. Fisher Creek Park is one of, or maybe the most populated park in Snoqualmie. There are hundreds of kids that go to that park. Adults go to that park. This is a danger to these children, not just because of the waste, but because what if one of them runs over to this energy place? What if they get hurt? Where's the security? What's going on? Light pollution, noise pollution, pollution in general, decreasing home values because of it, possible increase of home insurance because of it, illnesses, health reports. We don't have any of those. What about illnesses that happen 10 years down the line that they haven't even proved because they're not even 10 years old? So who knows? Okay, we don't know about that. HOA, we have to go to a certain store to buy a certain paint color to color our fences because it's an eyesore if we don't. This is a complete eyesore, okay? Let's see, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. All right, so just so you know, Jupiter already has multiple lawsuits against them. One of them taking place in New Mexico right now. This place hasn't been open for 10 years. They already have multiple lawsuits. And these lawsuits are because of non-transparency. Non-transparency. They were doing this or trying to do this in the cover of darkness. Okay? We didn't know about this. None of us knew about this. We didn't know what's going on. Non-transparency. If they're already trying to do this behind people's backs, why would we even take a chance on believing what they have to say next? Why? Let's see. Oh, and on the way here, I was coming down the road thinking about fire hazards, of course. And what passed by me? A fire truck going the other way. And if nobody believes in signs, I do. And for me, that's a huge sign. All right. And I'm not willing to take the chance on my neighborhood, on the kids' safety, on our health safety, and for my sweet animals. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Robin Clark. I'm a resident of Snoqualmie. I've been here for over 25 years. And all the comments so far I agree with, so I'm not going to repeat those. But I started thinking about security and safety. And currently across the United States, even in the state of Washington, we have sabotage at our substations. So what would prevent someone from sabotaging these the BEST project, the BEST location? And that's about it, since no one talked about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Ariel Castle and I live up on Snoqualmie Ridge. I'm here tonight with serious concerns about health and our community's future. First, chemical exposure. Scientific research published in Nature and confirmed by the EPA and CDC shows that lithium battery fires release hydrogen fluoride gas at levels up to 600 parts per million. The threshold that is immediately dangerous to life is 30 ppms. That's 20 times the lethal threshold detected at real fire scenes. This gas is colorless and odorless. You won't see it or smell it. And symptoms can be delayed 12 to 36 hours, meaning families may not even know they were harmed or exposed. The CDC specifically warns that children are at greater risk than adults. Their airways are narrower, they breathe more air relative to their body weight, and they may not know how to evacuate. Kids play all over this neighborhood, and there are multiple playgrounds and 2 elementary schools very close to this proposed site. The location of the site is not acceptable. Our homes, our health, and our right to be made whole is also a concern. This is where our families have invested everything. I want to be direct. If this facility had already existed when we were looking to buy our home 7 years ago, we would not have purchased here. The health risks alone would have been disqualifying. We made our decision based on the community that existed, safe, family-friendly, near parks, trails, wildlife, and a protected river. A 45-acre industrial battery facility changes all of that. So I want to ask a few questions. So if property values decline because of this facility, who will pay? What is the specific legally binding mechanism that guarantees homeowners will be compensated? If a resident or child suffers a health impact from a fire or toxic release from chronic low-level exposure, who is liable? How will affected families prove their case when symptoms can be delayed and exposure is invisible? What independent health monitoring will exist from day one with results publicly available? These are not hypothetical concerns. They have happened at facilities exactly like this one. So I really appreciate that the city is listening to all the comments, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you, Ms. Castle. Next speaker, please.
I'm Aaron, been here for 20 years. I got a couple of, I know you guys can't answer questions, but I'm gonna pose them to the group because I'd love y'all to be thinking about them if you haven't already. To our fire chief, have you guys gotten specialized best training? Have you guys had pre-incident responses planned? Who's on site for emergency shutdowns? This exact same facility in 2019 down in Phoenix exploded and 4 firefighters lost their lives. What's the blast radius if this building goes? What's the evacuation radius we should be considering? I mean, this is new, so I don't even know if we have it on our books, but what's the setback code? How far should this thing be from any residential community? Are those codes on our books, or are we gonna have to think them up before we decide to put it in, or is that an afterthought? I know we've talked about, $1 million coming in to our taxes. Well, that wouldn't even pay for the hawk light that went into our streets that we can't afford to pay for. And so if we can't afford a street light, I don't think the $1 million a year is going to add that much. So my real question is, who's really getting paid here? Because this came in and we got a piece of mail that said it was going in, and we had to find out from others that this was going to go on where we could come down and speak out before it got approved, because it was apparent that it felt like it was a decided decision that none of us had a say in. I know that I personally live too close to that thing, and I mean too close to that thing, where I'm just worried about the gases that come out of it, that are not, you can't physically see. When I look at the map that they drew, they cut it almost all the way down to the park. So if these things are so dangerous that our firefighters can't fight this fire without specialized training, why are we putting it next to homes? There's plenty of space in this state that's not next to a home. And from what I understand, and I could be wrong, I'll put that out there, we're not even benefiting from it. So it's not that the power is going to us. It's not going to keep us from having any blackouts or power failures. If anything, the power failure could impact us harder because that thing is sitting next to us. I'll give back my time, but there's a lot of things safety-wise I think you guys really need to consider before this ever gets approved.
Thank you, Aaron, for your comments. And for the record, this is actually the police chief.
Oh,
Next speaker, please.
Ethan Benson, Snoqualmie. First of all, I want to say thank you to you guys for doing this work. I know that it's very difficult. I know there are a whole lot of things that you would love to say, a lot of opinions that you'd love to give publicly that you can't, because so much of your job is done not in public, and that's not because of lack of transparency. Oh, do we want to give his name? So I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I know that if this is bad for Snoqualmie, it's bad for you, because you are our friends and neighbors, and you have nothing to gain from anything going wrong in Snoqualmie. And I know that all of you, and that you work so hard thinking only about the safety and security of the residents of Snoqualmie. So thank you. A couple of points that I'd like to make. One of the things, I'm not a battery storageologist or anything, but in my cursory study, I found that it's a very small percentage of these facilities that find themselves in such close proximity to a park and residents. So they do exist in similar locations, but very seldom this close to a widely used park and so close to residential areas. I've heard people's concerns on this criticized as NIMBY, not in my backyard arguments. But I've got to be honest, even though I have heard those words from people in this room, I don't think that's really what they mean. I think what they mean to say is not in anybody's backyard. These are unproven facilities for the amount of time that they've been in existence, and they really need to be in places where there's not such a huge environmental and human downside if things go wrong. I know that this is in unincorporated King County. You guys have no jurisdiction over that at all, but you do have the ear of our county council. You have the ear of Sarah Perry, and yes, they have jurisdiction over this unincorporated King County property, but please remind them that Snoqualmie is also in King County, and they are also our council members, and that they have a responsibility to us. And we're saying very clearly, not in anybody's backyard. This is scary. So again, thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Next speaker.
Jim Chesfold, Snoqualmie. I wanted to thank the council for extending the period of time for comment tonight. I learned a lot from all of the residents who have studied this issue and have concerns. I too share the concern of safety primarily, maybe groundwater and air quality secondarily. I just learned about it in the last couple of days doing my little internet research on it. Found that there's a long history of best fires, maybe most recently and significantly in California, which was mentioned earlier at Moss Landing, that had an evacuation of 1,200 people or more. Toxic fumes coming from the sites, thermal runaway is the problem, difficult to extinguish and often just left to sit there and smolder out. It seems to me that it's a new technology that's expanding. There's a need for it. It's a good need for it. It supports green energy. It provides for peaking power, which is necessary and cost effective. But there's a big health issue, and it seems like the technology is just not developed far enough for an application at this location. It'd be better off sited, as others have said, in industrial area. And I agree with the last person. It's not just a NIMBY thing. What I would like to see, I don't have a full understanding of what the approval process might be in this. I understand that there's a state environmental protection agency review that would be conducted by the county. I don't know the timing of that. A concern with that is when like an environmental report gets put together like that, it takes a long time. It's developed in a big expensive document. Everybody has locked in on the project. They're willing to give up little mitigation measures, but it's only nibbling around the core, and there's still a core that's unsafe at the base. So I would also support quick action on this. So a resolution by the council opposing the project would be very good. Considering annexation is, I know, a big process, but perhaps worthwhile. So I want to stay in tune. I thank everyone for what their evaluation, and you're taking their comments and concerns. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Cheswell. Next speaker, please.
Danielle Wallace, Snoqualmie. Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Danielle. I've been a resident here since 2019. I'm a mother of 2 littles that are at home right now, and I live just a half mile from where this proposed site is going to be. I'm here on behalf of Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development and over 1,700 and growing petitioners to deliver our community's message for the record. Tonight, I am asking Snoqualmie King Council, not later, but now, to take coordinated, visible action to protect our community. Our community is being asked to accept long-term risk at an industrial scale without the data to support it, without safeguards to manage it, and without the accountability if something goes wrong. Nationally, there is no comprehensive standardized analysis of large-scale BESS facilities according to population density and terrain. So, using over the 15 years of experience I have in analysis and the determination of mothers everywhere, I did it myself. You will find that in your inbox here shortly. The full analysis proves that across the US, the majority of large-scale BESS facilities are in rural population density with flat terrain. Out of 181 utility-grade sites in the United States, there are no that are in the same topography as the Snoqualmie Valley with limited mountain valley environments and constraints. And critically, our analysis, if you combine these two things together, the constrained terrain and also our population density, it does not exist. So this proposal is not just unusual, it is unprecedented. And when proposal is introducing unprecedented and high consequence, the standard of review needs to meet proportionally the rigor that is necessary. It's not sufficient to expect the community to demonstrate harm. The applicant and the governing process are the ones that need to demonstrate with clarity and evidence that the project can be implemented safely. That level of assurance has not been established, neither by Jupiter nor our current existing codes. Existing laws establish floors, minimum standards for the site and the facility. Next, not accountability for how impacts affect the surrounding environment or who is responsible when they do. In Snoqualmie Valley, we've got floods, rains, high wind, protected territories. These are baseline conditions, not externalities that are theoretical analysis for policymakers. If the impacts don't stop at our property, why do our protections? This shouldn't be about meeting the minimum, it should be about determining if the minimum is enough. To be clear, we're not asking you to oppose clean energy. We're asking for a responsible process, full transparency, and appropriate safeguards before a decision is made that could place outsized risk on our community and others like us. So there's 3 actions we want you to take. First, establish a clear public position on siting in industrial zones, brownfields, or rural unconstrained areas. Next, make formal requests via the King County permitting process for independent third-party review and full environmental impact statement. And last, lead our community, convening a public meeting with Jupiter, hosting community sessions like these and more, and appoint a council liaison to help lead and guide us through this process. While jurisdiction is fragmented, leadership becomes more important, not less. In the face of unprecedented conditions and insufficient boundaries, the council has the authority and the responsibility to act. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Melody Correa. I'm a member of the Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development, and I support the messages shared by my fellow members. I've been a resident of Snoqualmie for 18 years, and I live 1 mile from the proposed Jupiter BESS facility. My son attends Cascade View Elementary a half-mile from the site, where I serve as PTSA president. We attend Church on the Ridge 600 yards away. My son plays hockey at Snow King Arena 500 yards away, along with more than 800 children who use that facility. I want to focus tonight on public health and safety because the site isn't in an uninhabited corner of King County. It's in the heart of our community. I want to focus tonight on public health. If approved, the children of this community will grow up in close proximity to a 45-acre industrial energy facility. Public health is not only defined by emergencies, it is defined by long-term exposure, cumulative effects, and daily environmental conditions. This would be placed in a deeply family-oriented community. 87% of households are families, and nearly 1 in 3 residents is a child. Within just a few miles of the site are schools, childcare centers, places of worship, community center, and a regional hospital. Battery storage facilities are not static. They are active systems that degrade, require maintenance, and eventually require replacement and decommissioning. That creates an ongoing cycle of activity and impact over time. Yet, there is limited clarity today on how those long-term impacts will be tracked, enforced, or mitigated locally. In addition, there are persistent, everyday impacts due to continuous operational noise, industrial lighting at night, permanent visual industrialization, and presence of an active industrial facility next to homes and schools. These are not one-time effects. They are daily conditions experienced over years. And more importantly, current regulations do not fully account for the cumulative long-term exposure. So tonight, we're asking council to advocate that those realities are fully understood before any decisions are made. Formally request that King County, as SEPA lead agency, complete a life cycle analysis that includes material degradation, maintenance, and end-of-life handling. Evaluate the cumulative long-term exposure combat impacts, including noise, lighting, and operational activity. Evaluate site-specific environmental conditions, including rainfall, wind, and terrain, are fully incorporated into long-term modeling, and advocate for clear enforceable standards for ongoing monitoring and accountability. Because if a project changes how families live day after day, then those impacts must be fully evaluated before it is approved. This does not belong here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Nivedita or Nivi. I'm a member of Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development, and I support the message shared by my fellow speakers. I've been a Snoqualmie resident since 2012, where I currently reside with my family and a handful of pets. I want to be clear, this risk is not just theoretical for my family. 2 years ago, we experienced a lithium-ion battery fire in the home next door. It reignited 3 times over the course of 3 days, becoming increasingly dangerous each time. The family with small kids were forced to evacuate due to toxic and carcinogenic exposure, and firefighters were unable to safely contain or remove the batteries without specialized hazmat support. And this was a home battery. This was not commercial. This was not industrial. We lived through that right next door. Now imagine scaling this to an industrial facility. Utility-scale battery systems do not fail gradually. When they fail, they enter thermal runaway, requiring hours or even days of sustained emergency response. Are we prepared for that? This places significant prolonged strain on local fire departments and regional resources, and may require evacuations or even shelter in place. Unlike most facilities in US, the other similar facilities, which are in sparsely populated areas, this site is in a denser community, which all of us are residents of, placing more risk on the people in the valley. In the valley like Snoqualmie Ridge, smoke and toxic gases can also become trapped because we are a valley, increasing both duration and reach of exposure. Emergency response here is further constrained by limited exit routes. We only have 202, we only have I-90, and we have Snoqualmie Parkway connecting the middle, and these limited pathways, they are supposed to support evacuations, support incoming responders, and control the existing traffic. That is just too much to ask from the limited resources that we have. This creates system-level bottleneck at exactly the moment when time would matter the most. Moss Landing incident, as has been mentioned multiple times, led to a large-scale evacuation. If we were to evacuate our neighborhood, it would be multiple times the evacuation that they saw in Moss Landing. So the question before you is not whether this project meets minimum code. The question is, can this community be safely protected if something can go wrong? Right now, there is not sufficient evidence that it can. So tonight, I urge the council to act within your authority to formally request that King County, as the SEPA legal agency, issue a determination of significance and require a full EIS, advocate for formal emergency response capability assessment for the site, advocate for independent fire and emergency management expertise, and formally request a pause in permitting until response feasibility is clearly demonstrated. Because if we cannot confidently answer the question, how can we safely respond, then we are not ready for this yet, not in anyone's backyard.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Rajshri Jadeja, and I'm member of Snoqualmie Neighborhood for Responsible Energy Development. I support the message shared by my fellow members. I'm a decade-long resident of Snoqualmie. I'm a mom raising a child with ultra-rare medical condition. An advocate for rare disease across United States. I'm board of directors for UDN. It's a not-for-profit supported by NIH and Harvard Medical School. I'm here to address the concern with environmental risk this project poses to Snoqualmie Valley, a highly sensitive and active watershed. That's where we live. The contamination from the project site would drain through Fisher Creek into Kimball Creek, ultimately the Snoqualmie River, which would be below Snoqualmie Falls, supports Puget Sound Chinook salmon, steelhead, and bull trout, all federally protected under Endangered Species Act. The proposed site of Jupiter Power BESS facility is not where the industrial scale infrastructure would normally be found. For one, it intersects with Kimball Creek, with the Snoqualmie Indian tribe partners through the Snoqualmie Watershed Forum have spent at least 15 years completing a riparian restoration project. Additionally, it contains fish-bearing streams, Category 3 wetlands, areas of unmet floodplain influence with erosion-prone slopes. These features define how water moves. The iron lithium battery failure system releases toxins like nickel and cobalt. In this emergency, massive volumes of water are needed, and that channel backs directly back in our groundwaters, soil runoff and river system in a concentrated directional topography. We saw the Moss Lake landing. A lot of people have given the example. If that happens here, where we live, our valley, these toxins would they are not going to be just spilled. They would be cumulative catastrophe, entering an already impaired watershed and flowing downstream to a habitat supporting federally protected species below Snoqualmie Falls. Furthermore, our valley's inversion condition, meaning airborne emission, could be trapped along the floor rather than dispersing, extending both duration and exposure. Because this is an unprecedented high consequence environmental setting, we are seeking the council. 4 things I'm requesting. Formally request that King County, as a SEPA lead agency, issue and determination of significance and require a full EIS. Second, advocate the terrain-aware modeling, a water contamination pathway and air dispersion. Third, advocate for independent environmental expertise to review those findings. And last, formally request that permitting be paused by King County until these risks are certainly understood and publicly vetted. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is John Farrell. I'm a member of the Snoqualmie Neighborhood for Responsible Energy Development, and I support the messages shared by my fellow members. Others may recognize me from last week's news coverage, which I'm not necessarily proud of, but I do it again. I've lived in Snoqualmie since 2012, where my wife of 14 years and I raise our 10-year-old daughter, who attends CVES just 1 mile from the proposed Jupiter site. Professionally, I've spent 20 years in the tech sector, including leadership roles at Verizon and Amazon, and I currently serve as the Executive Vice President of Strategy and Growth at a national firm. That experience includes evaluating risk, scale, expansion suitability, perspectives directly relevant to this proposal. I'd like to speak about land use, specifically whether this proposal aligns with the planning principles that guide where industrial scale infrastructure belongs, like communities like Snoqualmie. Across the US, large-scale energy infrastructure includes battery storage, is cited according to a consistent set of principles. Separation from residential areas, placement in industrial and previously disturbed zones, and access to infrastructure that minimizes environmental and community risk. This is why the vast majority of large-scale battery facilities are located in rural areas, industrial corridors, or brownfield sites. As the scale and potential impact of a facility increases, so does the need for distance, buffering, and appropriate zoning. And in a place like Snoqualmie, those considerations are not just best practice, they're essential. We're a constrained valley system with limited transportation corridors, connected watershed, and residential communities closely integrated into both. Now, you might hear the argument that this is necessary due to the proximity of the grid infrastructure, and that it does matter, but it's not the deciding factor in responsible siting. If it were, we would see these facilities like this placed in dense communities, but we don't. And there's a reason for that. They're typically built to serve a specific local community's energy needs. They are built to participate in wholesale energy markets. Additionally, we haven't heard from Puget Sound Energy Planning citing specific needs that we need to have a facility at this scale to meet these local capacities. So it's worth considering if this is actually a local grid problem or a site selection that's convenient for the developer. So here's the question. Should the burden of adapting to the grid fall on the developer, or should the burden of the risk fall on this community? So tonight, we're asking the council to act with your authority to adopt a formal resolution affirming that large-scale BESS facilities should be sited in appropriately zoned industrial or rural areas. Advocate for a comprehensive alternative analysis demonstrating viable sites that meet those criteria. Engage directly with King County to advocate that land use compatibility, not just technical feasibility. And last, establish a clear public position that land use decisions in Snoqualmie must reflect long-term planning goals, not short-term citing convenience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Peter Lully. My wife and I are Snoqualmie residents, grandparents, and homeowners. We live less than a mile from the proposed BESS site, and I too am a member of the Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development, and I support the messages by my fellow members. And we recognize that from a land use perspective, the city's jurisdiction is limited. The applicant has directed its efforts to unincorporated King County, where its battery facility would be located. But the city's not out of the picture. The applicant's batteries are proposed to interconnect with the Puget Sound Energy Mount Si substation. That substation lies squarely within the city of Snoqualmie. PSC's use of that substation is governed by a franchise agreement with the city, adapted in 1998 under City Ordinance 830. Its stated intent was to support traditional transmission and distribution of electricity that, and I quote, promote public health, safety, and welfare. Unless 830 was updated with a new agreement we can't find, it expires in 2028. That's in less than 2 years. That should make us question what specific site level analysis supports the conclusion that placing a 130 megawatt lithium ion battery facility in such proximity to our homes, schools, churches, and businesses promotes public health, safety, and welfare. Public data sets suggest that the grid scale battery projects have experienced safety related incidents. We've talked about it, including thermal events. The consequence of a single event, particularly in a residential setting, is significant. When they occur, they're complex, prolonged, destructive, and costly to manage. In other words, a very real and imminent risk to, quote, public health, safety, and welfare. If such an event occurs near city infrastructure, Snoqualmie will be on the front line operationally and financially. And the question has nothing to do with the project as it merits specifically. Rather, the question is, what role does the city play in allowing the infrastructure to support it or oppose it altogether? That exploration belongs here, not at King County. Respectfully, we ask the city to issue a formal interpretation of the PSC franchise in light of the proposed use, especially with respect to whether it promotes public health, safety, and welfare, that it commit to a transparent review process before renewal, and finally ensuring meaningful public consultation before its ratification and passage. The city's not a bystander in this project, it's a gatekeeper. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lully. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, council. My name is Brock Brady. I'm a member of the Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development, and I support all these messages that have been shared by my fellow members here. I've been a Snoqualmie resident since 2020. I'm a recovering financial advisor of 20 years, and I now sit in the M&A seat, and I live right down the hill from Fisher Creek Park, next to the proposed Jupiter BESS facility. I'd like to speak about the economic risk, specifically how this proposal impacts both household financial stability and the long-term fiscal health of this community. Talking about economic impact is not an abstract concept, I don't think, for any of us. For most families, their home is their single largest financial asset, and the value of that asset is directly tied to how risk is perceived in the surrounding environment. There's a well-established pattern when industrial scale infrastructure perceived as hazardous is introduced near residential areas, property values can decline. While no best specific studies exist due to the technology's relatively recent deployment at scale, the perceived risk profile and visual impact create comparable conditions for property value stigma, which in other pricing studies of industrial facilities perceived as hazardous saw an impact ranging from 5 to 20%. And these impacts are not just immediate, they persist as longer time on the market, reduced buyer demand, downward pressure at resale. But property value is only one part of the equation. The second is insurance. Insurance markets are increasingly risk sensitive and selective. We already seeing this locally with the floodplain related coverage constraints. So when new risks are introduced, insurers don't just raise premiums, they limit coverage or exit markets entirely. Ask my mom, she's in Florida. When homes become difficult to insure, they become difficult to finance, sell, or retain. So at that point, this becomes a community-wide economic constraint. There's also a third layer, the fiscal impact to the city. So according to Jupiter Power Zone projections, approximately $780,000 to $1 million annually in property tax revenue on a $40 million annual budget. But that revenue is based entirely on industrial personal property, which under Washington state valuation methods rapidly depreciates to a 15% floor, meaning the tax benefit is all front loaded and declines over time, masking the long-term fiscal weakness. So which may be eliminated altogether by 2029 under HB 1960. So meanwhile, the facility generates no retail sales tax, limited utility tax, minimal excise revenue. By contrast, the city's planned land uses, mixed use, innovation, business park development generate appreciating property tax, ongoing retail sales tax, business and occupation activity, long-term economic multiplier effects. The list goes on. In municipal terms and finance terms, this is not a neutral trade-off at all. So I'm.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hi there. I'm Alicia Pitt. I'm a member of the Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development, and I support the messages shared by my fellow members. I've been a Snoqualmie resident for 17 years. I have a Mount Si senior. Great to see the Mount Si students showing up. And I live about half a mile from the proposed site. Professionally, I'm in sales and marketing leadership with a Washington-based medical device company. I'd like to speak a little about process, transparency, and accountability, and what that means for Snoqualmie in this moment. Because while this project may sit outside the formal city jurisdiction, it does not sit outside this community. And it doesn't sit outside of the planning vision this council has established over time. So when projects are proposed just beyond jurisdictional boundaries, but directly adjacent to where people live, it creates a structural challenge. There's no single body that's fully responsible for the outcome. That's the situation we're all in right now, right? And that makes the process, not the outcome, critically important, because process is what determines whether decisions are fully informed, properly scrutinized, and aligned with the community that they affect. And right now, that standard just hasn't been met. This proposal is moving forward without a coordinated, transparent, and publicly accountable process, and reflects the scale and complexity of the initiative. There's no evidence of an integrated evaluation of the risks that have been raised across this community, environmental impacts, emergency response feasibility, public health exposure, and long-term economic and fiscal effects. A decision made without a complete process isn't just incomplete, it's unreliable. Now, it is true that this council does not control the permit, but you do have the ability to define whether the process surrounding that permit is sufficient. You can formally request additional analysis, convene public forums, coordinate with county decision makers, establish clear expectations for transparency and accountability, and you can choose to publicly advocate alongside us with King County. And in situations like this, that is leadership, and leadership is what we expect from our elected representatives. So tonight, we're formally asking the council to act within your authority to formally request that King County, as the SEPA lead agency, to issue a determination of significance and require a full EIS, convene a public on-the-record meeting with the developer community and relevant agencies, establish a coordinated review framework that ensures environmental safety and economic risks are evaluated together, and issue a clear public statement that projects that projects of this scale require a higher standard of process, transparency, and accountability. We need your leadership now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pitt. Next speaker, please.
My name is Charles Vision. I am Snoqualmie resident since 2007. I am also a mechanical engineer who specializes in failure. So I live with the world of failure analysis all day, every day. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about what we're talking about here. So they expect currently 1,000 cellular failures over the course of 15 to 20 years of these installations, okay? And they're going to talk to you about UL certification and how this makes you wonderful. Let me explain the UL certification. The UL certification guides whether or not it will fail, first off, and then whether or not it will fail cell to cell. So will a fire transmit from one cell to another? And every single BESS installation fails cellular to cellular, every single one. Then they're going to talk to you about UL certification between units to units, okay? And every single BESS installation fails unit to unit, every single one, okay? Then they're going to tell you about unit to the whole container failure, okay? And they specifically will talk about how, oh, well, it's contained within the container, so we're all good, right? Well, we have seen that this not be the case. Okay, so please understand that when you see UL certification and they hang their hat on it, they are testing it to find out how bad failure is. And right now, as current design, it is not passing. And they are hoping that the container keeps it inside. And that is the truth of the matter. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Vision. Next speaker, please.
I'm gonna cut in line here. I'm Caitlin Quinn, and I'm a resident of Snoqualmie. And my husband and I have 3 kids, and we are both physical therapists here. And my background, my undergraduate is actually in epidemiology and public health. And I can talk a lot about the public health concerns. But the one thing that I actually wanted to piggyback on the speaker before me is that after the fire in California updated their laws and how far apart the pods had to be. They were at 3 feet and now they're at 10 feet. And the proposed site is currently for here is they're only suggesting 3 feet. And so with the failure risk, we need to at least say they have to space them out more. We need to pause this and look more into the other laws. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Emily Anderson Johnson. I'm also a member of the Snoqualmie Neighbors for Responsible Energy Development as well, and I support all the preceding messages from my fellow members. I've been a Snoqualmie Ridge resident since 2018. I'm a working mother of 2 kids. I live half a mile below the proposed Black Rock Jupiter BESS site. I run with my golden retriever on the trails adjacent to the proposed site, and I'm at Fisher Creek Playground with my 4-year-old multiple times a week. I would like to speak about cumulative impact and precedent, why and how this decision extends beyond this single project or this single site. Because what's being proposed here represents a new combination of conditions. Large-scale battery storage placed in a constrained valley in close proximity to a growing residential community. And when a new combination like this is approved, it doesn't remain isolated, but becomes a reference point. Across the United States, large-scale battery facilities have followed consistent siting patterns, favoring low-density areas and unconstrained terrain. We've heard about that, reflecting a practical understanding of how risk, infrastructure, and land use interact. If that pattern is broken here, it sends a signal about what is now considered acceptable. And those signals influence how future projects are proposed, how permitting decisions are evaluated, and how much weight is given to community context and environmental constraints. Precedent works not as a single decision, but as a shift in a standard that guides the next decision and the one after that. And that matters here. Because the conditions present in Snoqualmie, a constrained valley, a connected watershed, and increasing residential density exist throughout the Pacific Northwest. Places that look and function like here. These decisions determine whether communities like Snoqualmie remain protected by thoughtful siting practices or become part of a new pattern where higher risk infrastructure is introduced into more constrained and populated environments. But this moment also creates an opportunity to affirm that advancing clean energy doesn't require abandoning the principles of appropriate location, risk alignment, and community compatibility. So tonight, we're asking the council to act within your authority to formally recognize the precedent-setting nature of this proposal, advocate for a full environmental impact statement and comprehensive review, and clearly communicate that projects of this scale must meet a higher standard of siting analysis and community protection. The standards set here will not only define the future of Snoqualmie, it will help define the future of communities just like it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Very good evening, respected Mayor and respected council members. My name is Vikrant Satyakumar, and I am a long-time resident of Snoqualmie Ridge. I also double up and volunteer as a coach for cricket and soccer for the kids in the Ridge. That being said, I stand here tonight not just as a homeowner, but as someone who feels blessed, proud, and genuinely privileged to raise my family in this pristine and beautiful city. The proposed BESS facility threatens the very essence of what makes us very special. It brings industrial scale risk into the heart of our lives, into our homes, into our children's routine, our health, our wetlands, our wildlife, and the community we have worked so hard to nurture and build. Across the country, more than 60 documented thermal runaway incidents have occurred at large-scale battery storage sites in the past decade, many requiring multi-agency responses or evacuations. Even the National Fire Protection Association notes that BESS facilities require specialized firefighting protocols and significant buffer zones. That's a question for all of us to answer here. And over here, please don't get me wrong, this is not about me resisting clean energy. It's about protecting the safety, the identity, and the character and the soul of our neighborhood that was never meant to carry this burden. Our friends here have in detail explained what the burden that we would be carrying if we go this way. That said, the Ridge is a quintessential residential community. Please help us keep it that way. I, you, and we owe it to ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Mayhew, and neighbors. My name is Akash. I live in Snoqualmie, and by day, I'm the CTO of a company keeping kids and teens safe online. And here I'm requesting your support to keep the kids, teens, and our entire community safe. I want to share something personal. My wife was up here a little bit ago. So our immediate neighbor's home was partially destroyed by a lithium-ion battery fire. Not one incident, there were three. The first battery went into thermal runaway, which is an uncontrollable reaction inside the battery. It cannot be put out by water. When the fire department arrived, they were not able to remove the batteries. It is considered a hazardous material, so they were not able to remove that. Then that first failure destabilized the other two batteries, which then turned into ticking time bombs. Over the next couple of days, in separate incidents, those batteries went off, and the last one ended up burning part of the house. Now imagine that, not across 3 batteries, but with thousands of lithium-ion batteries across 45 acres. This is not a theoretical risk, right? In Jan 2025, Moss Landing happened. We have heard about that. 1,200 residents evacuated, toxic gases released, heavy metals were found in the soil, and there were hundreds to thousands of times of permissible limits. Jupiter Power will say that the design is containerized. I heard that too. But containerized facilities fail too. They failed in San Diego. A containerized facility burned with flare-ups for 13 days in Warwick, New York, which had 3 fires in 2 years, right? Over 150 governments and 17 states have enacted moratoriums on these facilities for a reason. I request you guys to consider doing the same. Second, this would convert a part of our community into an industrial zone. People moved into Snoqualmie for its trails, its neighborhoods, its schools, not for its best facility. A 130 megawatt facility with cooling fans generating 70 decibels within 50 feet does not belong in our neighborhood. In fact, it doesn't belong in anybody's neighborhood. Thirdly, it is unclear what Snoqualmie gets from this. Jupiter Power is a Texas-based company. The power stored here serves the broader grid. Our community bears the risk. They take all the profits. And this brings me to the final point, right? What level of risk is acceptable? Jupiter Power acknowledges fire have happened, but says that the risks are much lower right now. Much lower is not zero. After watching the fire burn through my neighbor's home, after watching the fire department unable to even move the batteries, my tolerance for that risk at an industrial scale is also zero. I ask the council to stand with this community and oppose this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akash. Next speaker, please.
Hi, hello, my name is Sarah Hyam. I'm a family physician. I've lived on the Ridge for 8 years. We moved here from Boulder, Colorado 8 years ago. We live just across the parkway from Fisher Creek Park, so we're well under a quarter of a mile from the site where this would be built, and my kiddo plays at Fisher Creek Park and all that all the time too. So as a physician, the main point I want to stress is whether our hospital has the emergency preparedness to deal with the casualties from a thermal runaway event in our community. I took a CERT class last year in community emergency response and learned about these lithium battery fires, and just kind of like the other gentleman alluded to what these involve if you see a car fire at the side of the road and things like that, and the fact that you need firefighters trained in these particular types of fires, the hazmat crews, the biohazard gear, all those kinds of things that they need. And then when these patients are transported to the hospital, I would imagine our hospital personnel would need appropriate equipment to deal with these casualties as well. I mean, there would be inhalation injuries, skin exposures, death, I mean, airway compromise, all kinds of things. And so do we have the ability to deal with multiple people? Do we have the gear to deal with it? Do our surrounding communities like Issaquah, Overlake, places like that have the ability to help us too if needed? And kind of piggybacking off some of that, I went to the meeting at the club last weekend, and I got the sense that they did not have a lot of a sense of what to do in the event of this sort of situation, or an earthquake, which no one has mentioned yet, or the flooding or the wind and things like that. Another issue is the evacuation situation that others have mentioned. Just today, I drove to Centennial Field, saw the big crowd of cars leaving the middle school, and realized, oh my gosh, if something happened right now, what will we do? And then, of course, there's the floods in December and the big lines of cars on the parkway trying to leave downtown Snoqualmie as the waters were rising. And again, this would be a very spontaneous event, possibly no warning, and how would we leave the community? I worry about our homeowners insurance. I know in Boulder, a lot of people cannot get homeowners insurance now due to the wildfire risk. I know in Pacific Palisades, it was pulled a couple of weeks before the big fire last year. I feel that a similar risk would face us. Lastly, I've maybe become a little jaded living here, but I don't have a lot of faith in our county or our state government to do the right thing for us sometimes. And I think our city council needs to consider that as well, about the implications of green energy and how these things impact our immediate environment and our community and our well-being. And, like everybody else said, I'm not against it. I do think that there's a need for a facility like this, but I don't think it should be in our community or any community near residential areas, near schools, churches, businesses, anything like that. And people need to be putting thought into this and think about how it impacts the lives of the citizens affected. So, and I hope everyone else thinks about that going forward as well. So,
Thank you, Ms. Hyam. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, council members. My name is Samir, and I am a recent home buyer. I just recently moved to Snoqualmie last year. I was looking for homes in other areas with a EMF reader. I let go of a lot of homes just because the EMF reader said it's very risky. I have a 3.5-year-old. It was a nightmare, and finally, a lot of people suggested me Snoqualmie. That's like a hidden gem you can come find here. Of course, I did find a beautiful home here. It's been going so wonderfully well for me and my family, and here I am right now, trying to, seek, push back on this project. Of course, I just did like a internet search. And I mean, of course, everybody has done the same thing. And, just a real quick search gives me at least 4 or 5 of these failures in the past. And of this industrial, scale, it just makes me very nervous on, how these things are planned and how they work. And one of the projects says a battery fire burned for 17 days in Oremis. I'm just reading it. I'm not making it up. It's all over the internet. And of course, there were reported health hazards as well. and we don't know what the health risks are. I mean, that's one of the things when I think about it, like, this communities, I think it has about 20% of kids under 16. So that's the population of kids that we really need to consider and keep in mind. And of course, on the internet, when you search, there have been a lot of pushbacks for similar reasons in many other places as well. And Jupiter was one of the companies that was pushed back in other communities. So I guess all I ask here this evening to the council is, just support us here, and just these are our concerns. Just help us push back on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ream. Next speaker, please.
I'm Adrian Webb. I'm a homeowner up on the ridge, and my wife and I own the local Irish pub. So we love this community, and we have all the confidence in this group here that you guys will use every legislative action that you can to push back on this. Aside from my frustration that I couldn't attend the last meeting because they decided to do it during the busiest day of our year. Already irking me, to say the least, but obviously our community, I'm so proud of the community has come out today with all this information and showing up to protect our community. And we have all the, like I said, confidence in you guys to do everything you can to help protect us. And we're grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Next speaker, please. Are there any speakers in the lobby that would like to come in and speak? Oh, if so, just hold on. Yeah, if so, make your way in. So, go ahead, please.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and I really appreciate the council's flexibility in allowing us all to make comments. I'm very impressed.
And just a reminder, state your name and.
Oh, sorry, Elaine Armstrong. I live up on the ridge. I've been here for 18 years. So here are some of my concerns. Many of them are based on the meeting we had last Tuesday with the Jupiter representatives. My first concern, of course, is tearing down 45 acres of trees, plants, habitat, ecosystems. And then the people who came to talk to us from Jupiter, they sent mostly young contract workers who responded to our concerns with platitudes that such things will never happen or will rarely happen. But when pressed, they didn't seem to have engineering backup or specifics that made me feel confident. The fire prevention consultant, he's from New Jersey. That's not a bad thing. I'm from New Jersey. But I'm just saying they don't know our local ecology. They don't know our local communities and what's important to us. He said that, yes, they're going to be training our fire department, but they are not planning to fight any fires and that they are going to let them burn out. And that's how they deal with battery fires. And of course, the impact of the toxic gases. Others have mentioned all the people and kids who will be impacted. And evacuation, I just want to remind you, when those bad floods came several weeks ago, people were stuck on Snoqualmie Parkway for 5, 6, 7, 10 hours. So there's no good evacuation plan that we can possibly, that I know of, that will get a bunch of us out of here and away from the toxic chemicals. And then the one employee of Jupiter that I found stated that there will be no continuous or even daily monitoring once this is built. So I'm really concerned that a fire could happen in one of the little battery compartments, and there, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to find out about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Cam. I live up on the ridge, less than half a mile from where this proposed site will be. And I want to say that I'm against it. I'd like to ask if there's a way for us to have an emergency incorporation of this land so that we don't have to worry about this at all. And then we can just decide whatever we want to do with it. That seems like the easiest way, but of course, this isn't my job. I don't know anything about that. So that's an ask that I have. I'm hoping that you guys can help with that. I'm worried about our property values. I'm worried that If we decide that we want to move because of this, who's going to want to move here? Someone stated earlier that if they knew this was here before when they were looking for their house, they would never have bought here. That's how I feel too. So if I was trying to sell my house, who's going to want to come here now that this is going to be here? It's going to be impossible to sell our houses. I'm also worried about the insurance. I'm worried about renters. There's a lot of renters that want to live up here as well. It's not just homeowners. Obviously, there's a lot of issues with evacuation. That was already mentioned. Even with the snow, I mean, not that we get a lot of snow here, but Mother Nature just kind of does whatever she feels like she wants to do, and she's not going to care about this battery place. So I'm hoping that a lot more protections can be put in place for us. A lot more restrictions could be made before this could go in. And I'm hoping that you please don't let it. Please just don't let it protect us, protect our kids, protect our environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cam. Next speaker.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Wolfley. Been on the Ridge since 2016. I'm from Canada, lived in our capital up in Ottawa. I am a food scientist by trade. My husband is also a food scientist and chemist. I am very concerned about this BESS site. I live probably a mile away from it. I think that's 0.6 kilometers. Yeah, I love this town. I feel like I am this town. I love everyone in it. I want to protect everyone. I want to protect my kids. I want to protect future generations. And I'm just asking you guys today, from the bottom of my heart, to protect us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfley. Next speaker.
I just found out about this last week. I had a kid ask me, what is a battery farm? Because he saw it on the sign. And I said, well, let's go look it up. It's probably a new farm in the area. So I found out, and I'm not a physician, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a machinist, I'm not a lot of things, but I work with kids every single day, school-age kids, beautiful children. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, and I've bounced around a little bit. I lived in Poway, California, which I'm sure you're familiar with. What I saw with Escondido was hard to see because I love North County of San Diego. When I saw this, it was hard to take in. Nicole and I were able to talk a little bit, and I was able to find out a little bit more. I work with these beautiful children, and I see their futures. We drive to school every day. We pick them up. We drive through this valley and talk about what an amazing place it is to live in. There's nowhere I've been after growing up in Alaska that's come even close to how beautiful Alaska is. I truly love it here. I want to keep this valley clean and beautiful and let it remain, as all these areas out in Snoqualmie Valley are, for these children to grow up in a beautiful, clean environment. And I ask you, like everyone else, please do not allow this. Please be our voice. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Shubham Saxena. I've been a resident of Snoqualmie for almost 5 years now. So thank you for scheduling this. I just want to echo everything that has been said. Building such a facility, no matter how useful, such close to residential areas, can prove disastrous. It has proven disastrous in the past. You know, a very famous nuclear reactor in the 80s, what did the chief nuclear scientist at that time said? It is as safe that we can build it in the center of Red Square. Nothing is going to happen. And we all know what happened 6 years later. Please don't set it as a precedent for something to be built so close to residential areas. We have the power to set an example. Let's set it the right way. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Hey, council members. I'm Rohit Goyal. I live in next to Fisher Creek Park. It's stone throw away distance now. And when we speak about all these discussion things, we are just wondering what kind of thought process went through by the county people about the lives of the people, especially because if the project, nobody's objecting about the project over here. Everybody's talking about the locality of the project. So our concern is simply that if it was well thought through and put it in a place like an industrial place, it could be just a loss on P&L of the company who's trying to create such a disastrous or a risky proposition. If it is in a residential area, then it is not about the profit and loss of the company. It is about the life of so many people, including your own family members. We would just like to request you, being our eyes and ears and mouth for the King County, please take that consideration and tell them that this can just be a profit and loss thing for that company rather than the life of so many people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Hi, thank you all for listening to us tonight. My name is Valerie Pacheco, and I'm a local realtor in the area. So I have really high concerns, like everybody else in here, about my home value. Just a little personal note, my husband and I bought our dream home. We love where we live, planned on living here for a lifetime. And he told me the other day, I might want to move. That's devastating, especially raising 3 kids here, knowing the community, loving the community the way I do. And some facts, you know, holding an open house. I've already had people ask me questions about this, already heard from other people that they don't want to, they've stopped their search. Those are some pretty big facts that, I mean, and I'm sure we'll hear more of that, but we need to act quickly. We need to do what we need as a community to stop them at permitting if we can, with your support. I had something written, but I need reading glasses and it's really hard to see and I'm already nervous. But we appreciate you guys and know that you will support us, hopefully to the best of your abilities. And know that we really want to keep Snoqualmie a treasure of Washington. We absolutely, this is a gem. And it should be a place where we should enjoy it and just the wildlife and everything. And I know I'm going off tangent, but thank you. And please help us to continue keeping this our gem.
Thank you, Ms. Pacheco. Next speaker, please.
I'm Jacqueline Pfeiffer, and I'm from Snoqualmie. We moved here in 2002 when it was pretty much under construction. And since then, we have just been blessed with the continuity of everything around us and the peaceful days we can walk and see everything and not have to fear anything. And it's not like it's an unreal thing here, but for the most part, when you look around, I mean, it's pretty wonderful. And the children in the neighborhood are, I'm, you know, definitely a senior citizen, and I live next to the soccer field and the Y, and watching the children, the numbers of children that come out, and 4th of July when thousands of people come, and we don't want to see that end. But I want to say to the council and mayor, you have been very, very responsive to this plea. And I think that it's something that we haven't always had over the years, 23 years. There's been a lot of, you know, ups and downs like any community. But right now, I think we have good unification with you and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pfeiffer. Next speaker.
Oh, hi, I'm Fred Politz. I live on the Ridge, and I'm a professional earthquake expert. And we had the Nisqually earthquake 25 years ago, and that was the most damaging earthquake in the entire United States in the last 30 years, economically damaging. And the return period on that earthquake is about 26 years. We had previous events in 1965 and 49. The Seattle Fault, which runs from Bainbridge Island to Fall City, is also dangerous. So I would just like you to take that into account as regards the risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Politz. Next speaker. there any speakers in the lobby that wish to step forward? All right, any further speakers?
My name's Christy Coffey and I live right down the street, so I live downtown. So one thing I wanted to mention, I was at the meeting last week. It was quite exciting, but one of the things I asked one of the young presenters, I think he was the same age as my kid, maybe 22, and I asked about noise. Because living downtown, when the woodman was going in, I'd hear the HVAC, and if they didn't turn off their vent fan at night, it was really noisy. And it interrupts your sleep, and it disrupts, it's just disruptive on a neurological level. So I asked him about noise, and he said to me, it's just like an HVAC, and the noise doesn't go past the fence. And I really didn't have a response because that's just ludicrous. And then I'm thinking, one little HVAC for a building on this huge campus, I doubt. So I just think that that's one thing that needs to be considered because it is very disruptive, not only to humans, but to all insects, wildlife. And it's been shown that noise affects the mating of many, many, many species that we rely on. So noise is a thing. And also the Snoqualmie tribe just got a big path of the Snoqualmie River designated as a cultural asset. And I think that anything that needs to be discussed on the Hill has to involve them because you've got that potential runoff into the Snoqualmie River. And that's their heritage. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coffey. Any other speakers? All right, no other speakers in the lobby? All right, moving on with the agenda then. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if I need to suspend the rules to do this because we already approved the agenda and I wanted to amend it. Okay,
No,
then
point
I'll
of
just make
order.
the motion then.
Point of,
Mayor.
state your point.
Sorry. You are closing public comment for this section, right?
That's correct.
With the gavel.
Comments are closed.
Thank you.
We don't usually do that at the end of public comment, but okay, we do that at the end of hearings.
Yeah.
But I think Councilmember Johnson has the floor.
Okay, then I'll just make the motion then. Move to add discussion of a potential battery energy storage system project to committee of the whole following Mayor Pro Tem appointments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Johnson, seconded by Councilmember Murphy. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion carries. We'll add that to the agenda. Did you catch that? Yep. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda contains approval of the city council meeting minutes dated March 9th, 2026, approval of the claims report dated March 23rd, 2026, and Agenda Bill 26-006, Cottonwood and Hoff Park Playground Replacement. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Washington and seconded by Councilmember Cotton. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, any discussion, council? Councilmember Johnson.
Only one question. I was just wondering what the substrate is going to be. I don't know if there's someone here who can answer that.
There is not.
Okay.
Councilmember Cotton.
I believe
in some discussion that it is going to be the same as what it has previously been or been recycled.
Any further discussion of the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Consent agenda is passed. If it's all right with council, can we take a 5-minute recess? I need some water.
Do we need to make a
Need a
motion?
motion?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
5-minute recess. All right, moving on to committee reports. Under Public Safety Committee, we have the police chief timeline. I'll just let you know that we have postponed that timeline for several weeks. One of the candidates had a family emergency involving emergency rooms, and so we postponed the process to allow that candidate to be here. So I'll be back to you soon with the timeline for that. Certainly at our next meeting, I'll have that ready for you and probably have email out to you in the interim. So if that's okay with Public Safety Committee, any further report from Public Safety?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. A couple things. First of all, our next council meeting will be bringing forward an ordinance amending Chapter 10.24 on compression brakes. We took that off the agenda so that we could allow public comments on other matters tonight. And I also want to make sure that everyone is aware that the Public Safety Committee is working on a number of things, including uncovered loads especially on the parkway, but in other areas too. There's a big concern about that. And speed and parking are other topics that we're addressing, not only in the school zones, but how do we address that throughout our neighborhoods as well as parking, long-term parking that are not the residents' parking. So those things are top of mind, and we've asked for the administration to put together a communications plan on what we can do right now to inform not only our residents, but more importantly, those impacting us. And there's been some outreach from the police department too to those commercial carriers that are part of the challenge we have. So anyway, many things going on with public safety, and we appreciate the work of Chief Haracy and his team in making sure that we address that, as well as Public Works and help with the school zone speed issues, and more to come. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Thank you, Councilmember Watton. Is there any report from Community Development Committee?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any report from Parks and Public Works Committee?
We did have some presentations that were going to be brought forward, but we did again clear our schedule to accommodate the public testimony tonight. And so, but one of the things that will come before the council is waste management. We'll be doing their annual presentation in one of the next few meetings. I'm not sure exactly when it's scheduled, so we'll be bringing that forward.
All right. Finance Administration Committee, we have council vacancy timeline. Councilmember Johnson.
Do we want to put the proposal, there we go, up on the screen? Actually, if we could do the calendar version, I think that might be most useful.
Whichever version
Yeah,
you
whichever
got.
version you have at this point.
I think it's page 48 of the agenda packet.
No, chief, don't do that.
Sorry, just so council's aware, we are working on some new software that'll enable us to do these council meetings with 2 screens instead of just 1. So they're working through some of that software tonight. So that's why you see 2 of them back there. And so it takes them a minute under this new process to kind of spot things and get them up for us.
Okay, I could start talking while they're pulling it up.
Please.
Okay, so let's see here. There is, I believe this is state law, that there's a 90-day clock that begins when there is a vacancy, which started on March 17th. And then we have 90 days in which the council, there we go, can appoint a replacement. And if the council does not do so, then it goes to the King County Council. So the proposal is to have tonight the council meeting where we would review and potentially approve a selection process. Then on the 30th, we would post on the city website application materials, including the application itself, the timeline. And then the applications would be due on April 5th at 5 p.m. to the city clerk or other staff member as designated to handle that task. That would be, yeah, on April 13th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I said
Thank
that
you.
wrong. But yeah, on April 13th. Then what we would do is we'd have the administration review the applications to ensure that they were complete and that they were compliant with Washington law and Snoqualmie residency and those kinds of things, such that they could serve. Then on the 23rd of April, the applications would be emailed to elected officials. And yeah, and then that would be included in the April 27th meeting materials. Then on April 27th, we would have a roundtable. Oh, something just popped up there. We would, yeah, so we could review the applications ourselves between then and the 27th. On the 27th at a roundtable, we would have oral interviews with the candidates. We could have nominations that night, and we could even vote that night. We do not have to vote on that night. That's not the end of the 90 days. But potentially, if the council felt like after the interviews that there was a candidate that that could be put forward with the nomination, we could potentially vote on them that night. And I believe that we talked about swearing them in the next day at FNA. Is that correct, or was it the next?
You could swear them in the next day. You could swear them in that night. That would be your choice.
Yeah. Either way, we would have at least a ceremonial swearing in at the next council meeting, I'm sure, however that worked out. But I don't think that we need to decide on that particular thing tonight. Right.
Correct.
Okay. So that is the proposal.
Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that this individual, if they so choose, would have to stand for election in November.
I don't think so.
November of next year.
Yeah.
Of next year.
Because this is not a sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, I guess.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, this is not a municipal election year.
Okay,
27.
okay. And so sorry.
Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the term of the seat would be for November of 2027. And I guess I'm just trying to understand, I thought that if we appointed before June, the individual would have to stand for election this year.
So the municipal elections in Washington State only happen in odd numbered years.
Mm-hmm.
So they would stand in the next municipal election, which is until 2027, which is actually when that seat would be up for election in any event. So they do so that, yeah, we don't have municipal elections in even numbered years in the state.
Okay. So it's the odd number year that dictates.
Yes, the next odd number year. Yeah.
Not necessarily when we appoint. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's correct. Not when you appoint, but rather when is the next election.
Okay.
Councilmember Johnson.
I don't need to belabor the point. Never mind.
And if I could just say, if you set this timeline, nothing stops you from changing it along the way. This would just be the timeline that we're seeking your approval for us to go start implementing on your behalf. And of course, you can make changes to it along the way, depending on how many, for example, on how many candidates you get and so forth. Right.
We can slow it down. We can't speed it up. Right.
Do either.
I mean, once you public notice it, you can't, yeah.
I mean, in theory, if it's properly noticed, you could, but I think out of, for the integrity of the process, the application materials will have a timeline in it so that the applicants would be looking at and planning their lives around to plan to have a interview process on the 27th.
Councilmember Johnson.
I actually don't have the date in front of me. I wish I did, but the 90-day clock, I believe, ends sometime in June. So
It ends in June 14th.
June 14th, thank you. Yeah, so that's kind of the hard stop, but we are intending with this timeline to give us plenty of runway to meet that deadline.
All right. This was an informational item, Councilmember Johnson?
Do we need a motion to formally adopt this?
You don't need one. It's up to you.
Okay.
So administration will proceed with this timeline based on what appears to be council approval. All right. Any further report from F&A committee?
Two quick things. They just want the council to be aware of, that there is an ordinance that will be coming amending the definition of sale at retail and sale at wholesale in the city's B&O tax code. This is something that is required from the state legislature. So it's not some new tax that the city is implementing. It is a new set of definitions of sorts. But we'll have further discussion when it comes to us. One other item that I wanted to bring to the council's attention was the legal department workload and potential for increased funding in the amount of somewhere's around, this is the right number, correct?
That would be the total amount. It's the 380.
Okay, it is that one. Okay. In the amount of $383,000 to cover hopefully the rest of this year for contracting for legal services. We will also be bringing that forward to the council in the future. But want everyone to be aware. No further report though.
All right. Under committee of the whole, we have mayor pro tem appointments. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, I have one appointment to make. That would be to move Councilmember Holloway from the Public Safety Committee to the Parks and Public Works Committee.
Sorry, are you moving or adding?
That would be.
The understanding was adding for now.
Oh, adding. Okay.
You're not making a hole in public safety.
Got it. Okay.
I'll stay on public safety. I'll pick up also Parks
Okay.
and Public Works as a member. Hopefully we get through this and get a new council member and I can go back to some form of life.
All right. So
So moved.
appointment by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson of Councilmember Holloway to the Parks and Public Works Committee. Is there a motion to approve the appointment?
So moved.
Second. To do that. That's
Moved by Councilmember Murphy, seconded by Councilmember Watton. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay.
We'll take you back.
The motion carries.
Is there a homecoming party?
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, also there is under committee of the whole discussion of, discussion of potential
Battery
how
energy
did we-
storage
yeah,
system.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't write down the wording. Discussion of Jupiter BESS storage system. Call on Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Okay. Well, we obviously heard some public comment tonight on this item, and there's some level of public interest in it. And there's definitely a lot of concerns that our community has about it. I share many of those concerns. So the question becomes then, what is it that the council can do? I mean, in terms of just the broad, what are the bookends of what council can actually do? What are the things that would result in the best outcomes? for our residents, and for other interested parties in this development. So the intent here is to allow council members to share some ideas for how we should move forward.
Councilmember Holloway.
Well, I mean, based, and I'm sorry, staff, but based on the conversations tonight and other things, I think we can start with a list of concerns. And then we can start to do due diligence and, put what are the facts and data under each one of those concerns. To at least give us a magnitude of concern or not, as the case may be. And that would give us fuel for our discussions as well as fuel for discussions with King County and the applicant to go from there.
If I could, counsel, so during the next, well, there's a lot of public comment tonight, but over the coming day or two or so, we will convert all of that testimony into a list of the questions, requests, and points made, which we'll share out to you, which will help you in deciding your path forward. I assume that you'll approve, we'll look to make that list publicly available as well as to what we saw as the comments. And then that may assist you as you start to move through whatever you want to do with regard to those points that were made. Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, I think that sounds all well and good. I think also taking the administration's model after we got the testimony off of the ICE concerns and looking that I see that as a good model of sorts in terms of breaking out like a work plan or a kind of priority list of things and options for us to consider, from easy to medium to more difficult. I think like just structurally, I think that's a good way to approach it. I would ask that there are two specific areas that I think warrant some deep dive. In addition to, I mean, we heard many things today, but I think the two things that I think come out to me relate to SEPA and the critical areas ordinance, and understanding that King County has just revised its critical areas ordinance in late 2025. And really getting our arms around that process is going to be really important, around the timing, when it makes sense to intervene, and things along those lines. I also want to call out specifically other municipalities here in King County that have had this issue come up before them. This is not the first time that a city has had to deal with this issue, right? And even we've seen issues where with BESs in nearby unincorporated areas. So really taking a hard look at those councils' actions, their deliberations. I would even suggest perhaps arranging conversation with some of those legislators and some of those staff in those cities to better understand and get our arms around how do they handle something similar. And the last thing I'll note, and I think this came up a lot, and I think it's relevant given that our council, I wasn't on it, but this council approved our city's comprehensive plan a little over a year ago, looking at how we had envisioned some of the area in which the proposed BESS might go. Master plan business park, innovative mixed use. And I would ask that we look very closely at the map there in terms of what that says and what our words were when when that plan came about. So that's it for now. I'll just leave it at that and let others have a chance to talk.
Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, we had a lot of great testimony this evening, and a lot of people here with heartfelt comments. They were very forlorn. So I echo Councilmember Murphy's comments on just kind of taking a broader look, but specifically one thing I heard this evening that I think warrants more investigation as we kind of build different tools, right, is the EIS piece of it. So I think that's one piece during the SEPA process that we can, start some discovery and, really start to kind of have some impact there. So I would definitely like to see us kind of follow that route.
Absolutely. Councilmember Watton and then Councilmember Cotton. So Councilmember Watton.
Thank you. They rhyme.
They do.
I deeply appreciate the comments brought forward and so many things that are warranted. And I just, as we work through this process, top of mind for me is the highest and best use of that land. Public safety and health is another concern as chair of public safety, and it's something that's top of mind for us in that realm too. And we'll be diving deeper into that, as well as the environmental, just the sensitivity of the water system, the ecosystem here, and sensitivity to also the responsibility for housing and workforce. That's contained in Growth Management Act. I think there's a disparity there that needs to be addressed. Traffic impact and noise, those are all big concerns. And then finally, I know some people mentioned annexation. That's not something that the city can necessarily direct, because that has to be done by 60% of the property owners requesting that. For that to come up, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But there are certain things that we can step into, and I'd like for us to see them. And Councilmember Murphy brought it up, and that's it's in our a version of the comprehensive plan as to what our vision is for the next 20 years. And this seriously impacts that in not the way that we had envisioned. So those are all things that we need to deliberate on as a body and be able to help articulate that for our community and to make sure that we are in accord with King County and what is dictated by the state of Washington and GMA.
Councilmember Cotton.
Yes, I'd like to kind of dovetail in on what everybody's mentioned, but especially to express my deep admiration for the community members that came forward, that organized and made their voices heard. And in so many ways, I was amazed at well, I shouldn't say I'm amazed, because we have an amazing community, but that the diversity of the points that were brought up. And I, like Councilmember Watton, am a big proponent of public safety, but it's not just saying public safety. There's so many different levels of that, with everything from the fire suppression side to the potential evacuations routes and things like that. So I do feel that, yes, we have some deep dives to do, as people had said, and get the information so that we can make the most impact with our counterparts in the appropriate times to do it, and also to be supportive for our community and voice their concerns. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, so one thing I just, I haven't been here long, and I was serving on planning commission. We've been in a lot of empty rooms, and this was not one of those. And I just really energized by the comments today. People went out and did their homework, and there was a lot of really great substance in the room today, which I think I appreciate. I hope others appreciate, because we have a lot of really knowledgeable subject matter experts in our community. And it's been great. It was great to hear, I think, some of that commentary and have it be backed in data. On a more like nuts and bolts like question, and, I think perhaps discussion for us is, there's a rolling timeline, right, with respect to this. And I think, it's probably not going to move linearly. It's going to move quick, and then it's going to move slow. And I think making sure that we have, we're continuing to kind of take note of that. And it sounds like there's like some pretty like significant like exploration and fact finding that we all need to do. I'd pose the question for the group. How might we want to bring this up at some point in the future, vis-a-vis another discussion? Is Councilmember Johnson? I'll stop, and I think you know where I'm going with this. Oh, sorry, I don't have.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think that what we did with regard to, as Councilmember, I think it was Murphy brought up earlier, when we had a number of citizens come with concerns about ICE engagement in our city, and the administration took all those comments. Some things the administration was able to just do. There were other things that they had to come to council for, and they brought those to FNA with this beautiful table that had this list of items all categorized in a very meaningful way. And then there could be things that the council can do with that information. Well, I should say, that FNA could bring back to the council, perhaps with suggestions of things we could do. One possibility is that there could be several avenues that could be farmed out to the various committees. There could be public safety aspects that public safety would be best for looking at. There could be community development questions that should go there. So I think that what might be a good next step is to let the administration compile that information, start to figure out some categories, as they did with the last round that was a little bit smaller magnitude, but a similar process. And then FNA kind of go through and take a look at those things, and then bring a proposal back to council of where perhaps some of these items could go for further discussion.
So if I could, council, just remind you, we have almost no resources in-house to deal with this. As you know, we have 1.5 city attorneys. We have right now one city planner, up to their eyeballs with existing issues. Because of the importance of this, I'm going to use the authority you've given me to contract with outside resources. I can do that up to $50,000 without your approval. You've given me that authority. I'm going to move on that, but expect at FNA that we'll be coming back and asking for you to approve, the moves I'm making, because we're going to have to bring in outside experts, and not just because our people are busy, but because much of this is very specialized knowledge. We're going to want to really get the best approaches available to you and to the community, and really get that from experts. And so we're going to move on that, and I'll keep you posted on that. But my sense is this is very urgent, so we're going to move on it starting tomorrow, and more to come on how we're doing that in your committees. And you can help obviously guide this. You control the budget, but this is something we're going to have to bring in a lot of help to get this right on. Councilmember Johnson.
I just wanted to mention as well about the budget. It's something that I am deeply concerned about going into this budget year. So it's something that I have my eye on. But I mean, this is really frothed up to the surface of public concern. I really appreciate the administration also seeing the urgency of the matter and using the resources as they see fit.
Councilmember Holloway.
I guess if the gentleman's listening about the Underwriters Laboratory UL data, please send that in. If not, can I ask staff, can you guys try to figure out that gentleman contact information and potentially get a hold of him to get his references?
Yeah, absolutely. We took down names as best we get, but we'll also go back to the recording to pick that up. So there's a lot of information. We'll be trying to seek all of that. Obviously.
Right, but that's authoritative. If he really has references to UL information, that's authoritative data we can lean on.
Yeah, I made notes. There were a number of speakers that had very specific and sound authoritative information that we can start from. And so absolutely we'll be reaching out. Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, kind of along similar lines, I heard some numbers thrown around as to the potential budgetary impacts from a potential revenue stream. Those numbers were very different from anything else that I had heard. So just trying to wrap our heads around some more facts around that would be really helpful. And I know that's going to be an ongoing process as we even get a permit, which we don't even have at this point, is my understanding.
Yep, meaning that they have not applied for permits, so we don't know what they are actually specifically asking for. That's right. For what it's worth, I've never heard that number before. I've never heard anyone at the city or on the council ever focused on any potential revenue number. So I think that's something that was of concern to that person. I did hear a similar number from several of the people that spoke tonight, but I'm pretty sure that's not something that any of you are looking at. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I think you're looking at the question of public safety. Councilmember Holloway?
Just as a side, there was a comment basically about a depreciation. I've never heard this before, and I don't think it exists. I need legal confirmation that tax collection would, in essence, have a depreciation decline as it goes through. I'm unaware of real estate taxes being handled in that way. There's maybe something unique to utilities, but the property, the value of the property is the value of the property. The taxes, the rate is the rate, and that's what we get. But if there's any meat on that, I ask for legal review to see if there's something there. Not that, I mean, it's not really relevant to the current conversation. It may get relevant if this were to ever approach annexation.
So it's up to you. My suggestion is we put that on the back burner. I don't think any of you are making a decision based on any
No,
potential revenue.
absolutely not.
So I don't want to spend time on that if that's not driving any of your discussion anyway. Let's spend time on getting you the information you want to focus on. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that these are the kinds of things, and we're, I'm guilty of this too. We are starting to head toward the weeds, and I think that that's where the administration can compile the comments, bring them to FNA, and then we'll go from there. So with that, I move to refer the topic of the battery energy storage system to, because I don't want to make a huge motion, to FNA.
There's moved by Councilmember Johnson, seconded by Councilmember Holloway. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. All right, the matter is referred to FNA committee. Any further business coming before the city council? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holloway, seconded by Councilmember Washington. All those in favor of adjourning say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Adjourned.